What's up everyone, Steven here with Neural DSP, and today we're going to talk about things that you can do to eliminate several types of unwanted noise during the recording process. This will cover techniques to deal with noise sources ranging from the guitar itself to gain staging and interference, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to see how these steps will drastically affect the overall quality of your recordings. I'll also do an A/B of the worst case scenario and the best case scenario at the end of the video so you can hear the difference. The user question from Randy Epp that inspired this video was geared more towards staccato parts, so I'll be using a more staccato metal guitar riff as my example. Getting a great sounding mix is the culmination of 1,000 small decisions. Most of these decisions happen before the recording actually happens. Getting the best quality sound from your source will always make your job significantly easier once you get to the mixing phase. So to start, I've just restrung my guitar, and now let's hear how this sounds. Any length of string or spring on your guitar can vibrate sympathetically with your playing. I'm sure a bunch of you guys have seen painter's tape on my strings in several videos I've made in the past. It's cheap, it's easy to apply, and doesn't leave any residue on my guitars. I've seen people stuff tissue papers under their strings as well, so if that's all you have, that'll also work. If you have a floating bridge, be sure to do the same to the springs in the back, since those will also vibrate with your playing. So we've got our sympathetic string noises muted, so now let's listen to our recording. Now, I'm not saying that you should use this next technique as a crutch to fix your ability to mute your strings while you're playing. String muting should be practiced in order to play anything live without it sounding awful. However, in a studio setting, or if you're up against a deadline, you can save yourself a ton of time by just using tissue paper to mute the strings that you aren't playing, or a fret wrap to mute strings during a solo. Okay, here's the example. One last problem to attend to: the gain on your interface. A question I see regularly: what level should I record my guitars at? Should it hit -6 dB, -12 dB? Now, I don't have a particular number that I play to. I play the loudest I possibly can, dial the gain till it's clipping, and then back it off so the loudest I play won't clip on the way into my interface. The goal is to get the highest signal to noise ratio set, so when I dial up the gain on my guitars, the hiss will be as low as possible. The noise floor will always be there, but this sounds better than this. Now we've got everything on our end set, except there's still a sound that's something like... Now this is an issue I see users ask about in the Facebook group pretty regularly. And the truth is, we live in an incredibly noisy world. Everything from our computer monitors, Wi-Fi devices, and even the electricity from our homes can be creating noise in our recordings. Diagnosing the problem is going to be tricky, but it's time well spent if you want a clean recording. First up is utilizing a DI box. I made a fully in-depth video on the usage of DI boxes and whether you would actually need one or not, so if you want to hear everything I mentioned in that, check out the video linked in the corner. To simplify what a DI box does, it converts your instrument signal to a line level signal. This signal then passes through an XLR cable. XLR cables shield your signal from outside interference, whereas regular 1/4-inch cables do not. This is great if you're sending your signal over long distances. The longer your instrument cable, the more noise is picked up along the way. And most DI boxes will have a lift switch or button that will help eliminate any ground loop issues coming from your power outlets. Power conditioners also will be a huge help to you regarding dirty power, since they are designed to specifically clean up the power from your outlets. I have the Furman M8X2 for this, and it is inexpensive, simple, and effective. Lastly, there are the actual noise sources like your Wi-Fi device, monitors, dimmer switches, or phones, for example. If possible, turn off anything that can generate noise. Obviously, you can't turn off your monitor while recording, so in some cases, you'll just have to move around the room to find the least noisy spot available to record. This is especially true if you're living in an apartment complex like I am, and there are neighbors with Wi-Fi routers, and you can't ask them to turn it off. Okay, so now we've legitimately recorded our guitars, so here's how I would dial in the plugins in order to clean up the staccato sections. If you're using the Archetype series, you'll only have the built-in noise gate at the top left of the plugin window. I'll loop the guitar part soloed out so I can dial in the correct threshold for the gate to work properly. Having just a tiny bit of noise at the tail end of your note is really not quite a bad thing, especially because you're not going to be able to hear that in the mix. If you're using any of the Fortin plugins, you'll have access to the Fortin Zool. Using a combination of the two gates can really get you some spectacular results. And that sounds pretty tight, so let's go ahead and listen to this in context. And then the final step before mixing is the editing. If you've gone through all the previous steps, you won't really have much to do. However, even despite our best efforts, maybe we still have some minor bit that we want to clean up, or perhaps radio frequency interference from power outlets, monitor, or some other source is still causing noise. This will be the final finessing we do to our tracks in order to clean up that last bit of unwanted noise. I'll go through and cut out silences and create fades that will sound as natural as possible while also complementing the gates that I already put in place. Just be sure not to cut the pick attack at the beginning of the transient or cut too tightly to the end of the signal. So to my ear, editing the end of this note was able to kind of clean up a little bit of noise as my hand was moving across the strings. So even gating wouldn't be able to take that out, so you have to do at least a little bit of editing so you can kind of perfect the track a little bit. So let's go ahead and listen to the before and after using all these techniques. So hopefully this helps, and if you like this video, go ahead and leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for notifications on when we upload new content to this channel. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.